Alright, so in this video we're going to be replacing the Tristar chip on the iPad Air. Tristar replacements on iPad Airs is one of the most difficult compared to any other iPad in the market, and I'll show you why. We've done this many times before, but every time we work on the Tristar for iPad Air we have to be super careful so we do not spend more time than required on this repair. Let me show you what I mean. This is the Tristar chip for iPad Air, and the chip itself is protected. You can see the adhesive or the rubber coating that is on the sides of the chip, and the coating or the adhesive is also covering the components. Right now, if I applied heat onto the chip and I want to remove the chip, what's going to happen is all those surrounding components are going to lift off with the chip because of this protection or the rubber filler that they have here. They applied a rubber filler which spread in between the components, and right now the chip is attached with all those components. So what we have to do is we have to cut the protection from the edges so the components are disconnected from the chip, and then we're going to have to remove the chip, and we're going to clean under the chip in case there's any of that protection under the chip. I've done this repair before where we lost some components from around the chip and I had to replace the components. The repair took longer than it should. You can always go back and watch that video. I think if you search for iPad Air Tristar replacement, you should be able to see it, or maybe iPad Air not charging. So let's go ahead and start with the repair. You can see I started to remove some of that protection from here, and I thought, why not make a video on this? So let's continue with breaking off that protection. Right now I'm at 230 degrees Celsius. We do not want to apply a lot of heat because we're going to lose those components. I'm using a very narrow hot air nozzle for this job. I only want to point heat on this area of the board and nothing else. So just applying some heat so we can loosen that strong protection. And we do not want to force it, because if you force it, the component is going to break off. Let's go over the edges one more time before we desolder that chip. Okay, let's go over this edge one more time, just make sure everything is good. Okay, so we should be good. We should be able to lift that chip without affecting surrounding components. I'm currently at 400 degrees Celsius. We just have to make sure nothing is stuck onto the chip before we lift that chip off the board. So I'm kind of wiggling the chip to see if anything else moves with the chip. And perfect. Perfect. We did not lose any components. And everything is just perfect. Now I'm gonna go back to 230 degrees Celsius so we can clean more of that protection. Okay, so the last pad that we have here is probably a no connect. I need to remove that protection from the sides so the chip can flow down properly and is not obstructed by any of that adhesive. Looks like we may have one missing pad, but I am almost 99.99% sure that pad is a no connect. We'll take a look at the board diagram and see, but for now I need to apply leaded solder and mix it with unleaded so we can clean those solder balls. Okay, so let's apply some flux and use the technique that I've been using for a while now since I discovered it. We're gonna cut a piece of the wick and we're gonna hold that piece of a wick using hot tweezers at 450 degrees Celsius, and we're gonna brush solder balls off the board and we should have a clean, nice clean finish. And the reason we apply leaded solder on top of unleaded is so we can lower the melting temperature. That will make the brushing process using the wick and hot tweezers a lot easier. It's very difficult to wick off unleaded solder, and that's why we mix it with leaded. Very nice. Okay, we just have one tiny solder ball on the top right. Okay, so the pad came right off. It's probably a no connect. Everything else looked perfect. So let's quickly jump over to our board diagram and just see what those two pads do. Tristar chip is right here. And they are no connect, you see? Great. And let's grab a new Tristar chip, and you can find those Tristar chips on our website. The same chip works on almost every iPhone and iPad in the market. Right now I'm using the mechanic tweezers. Very fine tip and long tweezer. I love it. Let's put airspeed down and temperature at 460 degrees. Airspeed maybe about 60 until that chip settles down in place. What I'm going to do is hold that chip down in place with my tweezers apply hot air, and then let go of the tweezers when I feel like the chip made a good connection. Okay, so the chip made a connection. Now we're gonna let it flow down in place. It should settle in place, and we're gonna tap it. But let me do it from here. We have more room to tap it from this side. And I'm gonna increase airspeed so we can force it to move in case it's not perfectly in place. Right there, right there, perfect. Very nice. Job well done. So we did an excellent job. The chip is soldered in place nicely. We did not lose any components. But now we're gonna have to use our Tristar tester to see if we get a pass. 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 Awesome. And like I said, this iPad is the hardest to change the Tristar chip on. Every iPad in the market, we can easily remove the chip and solder a new one, but on this one, it's difficult because of the protection. That's it, the job is done. I'm gonna give this to Big Boss to reassemble. We're gonna invoice the customer and mail it back to him. Today is Saturday, and I'll probably not see you again until Monday. So from now until then, have a nice weekend. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment if you have any questions, and we'll do something else in the next video.